Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to First Generation Wealth Builders. My name is Andre Franklin.
And I'm Eric Armstrong.
And so today we're going to play back a conversation. I call Eric all the time about real estate stuff as I'm trying to get my mind around it. One time a little while ago, he hit me with a really good question. He asked me what my goal was in real estate in terms of the number of doors I wanted. I didn't have an answer, right? So I thought about it, hit him up over the weekend and told him 42 properties. So Eric, what was your response when I said 42 properties?
I was just like, how'd you get 42?
Right.
You know, like I was thinking 40 or 50, but 42 it was. And then you basically told me that you wanted to make about a half $1 million per year from cash flow or passive income.
Right. And so what we're going to do is really break down those numbers. That's what Eric is going to be super dope at doing for us. But in my quick estimation, it was, well, if I get $1,000 a month from each rental property of those 42, it works out to be about $504,000 a year. And that's where he really started helping me to walk through and bust down some of my thinking because my math was wrong. You want to jump into that part?
So I wouldn't say it was wrong. I would just say that if you bought properties outright cash, it would be very difficult for you to scale up to 42.
Okay.
Because where would you be getting the income to just
every time
purchase houses in full? So we got to leverage the banks. And in doing so, we're going to have mortgages on each home. So I think that when we look at this, a bank will lend you 80% on any property. You're responsible for the other 20%. And so there's different ways to get to this. And one way is to get a property below price for sale. Yeah. And then do some repairs to it. Appreciate the value. So, example, a house is worth $35,000. Putting $35,000 into it, so you're all in for $70,000 in closing costs. And then now, when you're done with it, the property's worth $100,000. $100,000. But you put in $70,000 for the property repairs, closing costs $5,000, and now you got that property for no money down because you have 20% equity in the property, and the bank is giving you the other 80%. So basically, you got a property for free.
Wait, break it down. I thought I put 20% in. How did I end up at no money down?
Right. So remember, we're buying the property below value. So example, the property costs $35,000.
But the area is worth more.
Definitely, meaning the ARV, the after repair value. So those are the repair. The after repair value is typically like what the house would be worth after repairs.
And so is the bank loaning me 80% of ARV?
Yes.
Okay.
At the end. Okay.
So
after
repairs.
After you repair it. So going into it though, let's just say that you took $35,000 to buy the property.
Yep.
$35,000 to fix the property.
Yep.
And then $5,000 to acquire and close the property. Yep. So you're $75,000 in right here.
Yeah.
So what I was saying though, the ARV is $100,000.
Right.
All right. So the bank requires typically that you put 20% down
to even get it started.
Right. But here in this example, you have 25% equity. So this is equity right there. Equity right there. You got 25% equity. So you have more equity than it is necessary to put down.
Got you.
Right.
So you're saying before you even go out there and acquire the property, you're looking at here's how much it's going to cost to get it. Here's how much it's going to cost to repair it. Here's how much it's going to be worth after I get it to the point where it's ready for repair. I only got to put down 20%, but the after repair value of the property is so high that I'm going to have 20% equity even if I spent the 20%.
So if I have that much equity, I don't have to put the cash down.
What do you mean you don't have to?
So if I have 25% of 100,000 is $25,000.
Right.
In this example, the traditional banking system says the bank will give you, if it's not your personal property, the bank will give you 80% to ARV, to the after repair value.
Yeah.
But you have to come up with the 20%.
Right.
Another way to present 20% out of not being cash in your pocket is to actually build the equity in the home, force the equity up, and that's how we did it by putting in the repairs and $35,000 there. Does that make sense?
So I'm taking $35,000 cash and doing the repairs?
You could do that. That was an example, not using the bank.
Okay.
That was an example of using your own cash.
Got it. Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
But that's just a way.
Yeah.
We can talk about how you do that with the bank later.
Yeah, yeah.
But I took $35,000 for the property,
Yep.
$35,000
In
cash to
repairs.
repairs,
Yep.
and then $5,000, to close the deal. So
Okay.
so I'm all in $75,000. Now I have an equity of $25,000. So in this situation, this home will cost me nothing,
Okay.
cash out of pocket, and the bank will refinance at 80%, meaning that they will give me back this money here. So typically they do it at 75% cash refi though. So that means that they'll basically
On $100,000 property, I'm gonna get $75,000.
so I'll get my cash again, and I'll be able to rinse and repeat this process to acquire properties. Now, you will have a mortgage though.
Right. But let me back up. When I initially go in to get the loan, I'm getting a loan for the 100K.
Oh, so I think we got a little confusion going.
Yeah.
I use it. This is a cash example.
Got you. Okay. All right.
No loan.
Yeah.
Cash example.
So where did I get my 70 from?
That was your cash.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm borrowing from Eric to get. I ain't got 70 cash.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you did it the same. Let's do it one with the loan.
Okay.
Let's say the property's ARV is 100K.
Yep.
Alright. We got the property for 35,000. That's the property.
Yep.
Now we got repairs. So now we need the repairs for 35,000. Alright.
Yeah.
Now, closing cost is going to be a little higher because you got to pay for a loan. You got to pay points on the loan.
Okay.
So let's say the closing costs now are like 7,000. All
Okay.
right. So now with the loan now you're right around. I'm so sorry. If that was cash, that would have been like 3,000. I was all bad right there. So let's say you're now here 77K, right?
Okay.
Because you have to pay
The closing costs.
the closing costs, but your loan points too. Now, so over here, the property this is the bank side.
Okay.
The bank is going to say, hey, the property is evaluated at $100,000.
Yeah.
Now we're going to give you basically a 75% cash refinance. All right. So that's going to equal $75,000 back to you. All right.
Okay.
Now, I had to pay 77 here,
Yeah.
so you're going to be $2,000 out of pocket to acquire this first property.
Because okay. All right. So let's walk through this. I got a loan to acquire the property and do the repairs, and that loan was 100K.
No, the loan was for
Those
70,000.
Right, to cover that, right?
Yes.
And then I gotta have the cash to cover the closing costs. Okay, so I gotta have $7,000 for that. That's gonna get me the property and get it repaired. Now I'm rent ready. Once I'm rent ready, I can refi to get my cash back out, but I've got a rentable property, so I'm cash flowing too. Now I'm with you. Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But I still gotta have 2K, right, before I do that.
Yeah.
But that can come from the rental property itself, right?
Right. So let's talk about the cash flow piece of it. So now you're renting the property for $1,000. Your mortgage on that 70 what was it?
77.
It was 75 because you came out to a
Two,
pocket.
yeah, that's right.
All right, so the loan is 70K. So that's the loan. So what happens there is your mortgage for that it's gonna be every bit of like $425,
Okay.
give or take your interest rate.
$425.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we have the $1,000 in rent minus the mortgage of $425.
So cash flow of $575.
Oops. Thus far, but you have to
Other
pay
expenses.
taxes. You have to pay property management, PM.
Hey, that says taxes, y'all.
Yeah, you got to pay insurance. So by the time that you're done, let's just say that you're going to be making about $300 cash flow.
Okay. So we're assuming that's going to cost me half of what? A little bit over half.
Yep, so this cash flow, we're not including repairs at this moment. That typically is for about 10% of what your rents are, on average, give or take.
All right.
So, sometimes if you just repair the property, you're not going to have too many repairs anyway. But give or take, you'll be right around $300 per month.
Okay.
So, when you initially came to me, you told me you wanted 42 properties, and you were looking at the concept of making $1,000 per property net after you paid expenses and things like that.
But I wasn't accounting for some of these other aspects where it's like, okay, I can pay back the loan, or I can refi, and some of these other expenses that I got to account for, right? I was counting that $1,000 is all coming into me, and that's not reality.
So the reason it can be a reality if you have access to that type of cash.
Right.
But the truth is, we want to use other people's money to scale our business.
Sure.
And we want to minimize our risks as we're trying to achieve our goals. So to leverage somebody else's money, you can multiply that. Meaning that if you have $100,000 in the bank, and you get one property, like you have the one property cash flowing $1,000 per month, and you basically at the end of the year you're getting 12K.
Right.
That's cool and dandy. But what about having $100,000 and you put down 20%, 20K here, 20K here, 20K here, and now you got 5 properties.
Yeah. And so jumping back here, real quick, all you're saying is we're repeating this process, right?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're expediting it because, yes you have a mortgage, and you're only making $300.
Yeah.
But a lot of us don't understand that we're not always looking at a rental property as cash flow. We need to understand that we get cash flow, tax benefits, appreciation, and somebody's pushing down the equity, meaning that somebody's making the payment on a mortgage, increasing our equity.
Yeah.
So this is how you can scale, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
To add though, one ninja tip that we must know is that when you buy a home, repair it, and then you rent it, and then refinance, it's called the BRRRR method. Once you put a renter in there, it's no longer a debt on your credit report. It's actually an assets, cash flow.
Okay. Yeah,
so you could rinse and repeat this process. So let's say your lender is only going to allow you to, $200,000 per purchase.
Yeah.
Once you have a renter in there, you could rinse and repeat this.
Oh, because that property's not looked at the same way from the loan.
Because at one point it's debt,
Yeah.
but once it has a renter, it's an asset.
Yeah.
And that's really how you can rinse and repeat the process to get to your goal.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And I want to go back to something, right? You talked about this $300 and what it really represents. To me, the benefit, even if I'm not looking at like the tax advantages and those other pieces, is I took money that I made, right? Because you said you got to have something to start with. I took what I made and turned it into $300 a month that I'm not going to work for, right? So I can keep working my regular job, and if I keep doing this, each time I do it, it's money that I'm no longer going to work for. So now I'm replacing my income. That's the part I get excited.
Now, think about it like this. The house cost you $2,000.
All right, because that was the closing cost I had.
Right.
Okay.
So with $300 a month, you basically getting a free house after 7 months.
Yeah, because I get my money back.
So it's a free house after, so if you do this right, you're not always going to get a house with nothing down, but if you could, if with minimal down, I'll take a rental all day for $2,000.
Well, and let's talk about that, right? So even if I'm not going to always get it with no money down, once I get the first one figured out, it becomes easier, at least mentally and cognitive load,
you build
to figure
confidence.
out how to do it, right? So that's the whole key is if you get over that first one, however you got to get over it, you're going to be more prepared to do it again and again.
And we could definitely assist you with that at entrepreneur.com.
There we go, with the grin and everything. I love it. I love it. So let's recap, right? We talked about my goal of 42 properties, right? And I'm thinking I'm going to cash flow $1,000 a month. The big thing we got to think about there is if you do it with a loan, you're going to have some other expenses that you got to cover, probably property management fees, insurance and taxes. That's going to take that $1,000 down quite a bit. But it's still money coming in that you're not going to work for, so it still helps you to get to the goal. Even in that way of thinking, that's not a 10 or 20, right? That's a long tail on me trying to get it that way. But your point was about refinancing that money so I can get the initial investment out, and now I can do it again and again and again.
Now, my question to you is, how quick do you want to get to 42 homes?
See, when I was first thinking about it, in my head, even with my math being not completely all the way there, it was like a 20-year plan. So I wouldn't even start enjoying this until 60, right? I'm 39 now, 20 years in, I'm about to turn 60.
Got you. So this is what I would suggest. You cut that in half, so that would make it to where you have to get approximately 5 houses per year.
Okay.
All right. Same process though.
Yeah.
You know, so we get 5 houses per year. 5 per year. All right. Now, once you do that, let's say you accumulate them, you'll now be, let's just say, at 42 in 10 years. 42 properties. All right. That's cool. So let's
12
say
years? What is that? 12 or 10?
that's properties. That's property. 42
Properties,
properties.
okay.
5 years. Five properties per year.
year.
But when you're done, you have 42. Let's say you're at your goal of 42 properties, but they all have mortgages.
Yeah. Okay.
You following?
Yeah.
All right. So you got property 1, you got property 42.
So that's a little bit less than 10 years, because 10 years at 5 properties per year is 50.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, that's what we was talking about earlier too. All right. Boom. All right. So that approximately at 42 is about 12.6.
So this is saying on property 1 all the way through 42, I'm earning $300 a month per property.
Right, and so that per month that would be right around $12,600.
Yep.
All right, so I would say once you obtain that, I would then start to take this gross profit and apply it to the first property.
Yep.
And if you did that, let's say each property was worth $80K,
Yep.
you would be paying that house down in right around 7 months.
Right.
And
And
then,
you're able to do that because this is all going towards the principal.
correct.
And that makes the overall debt smaller a lot faster.
Right.
So you're able to pay it off quicker. Yep.
Got you. And now, we're not including repairs in this.
Right.
So the trick to really, really make this work is to be able to do some flips in between time
Okay.
and take that capital
Set
to
it aside.
decide to take care of repairs.
Got it.
Therefore, like, this can stay smooth and clean. Now, you have property number 2. Now, at that point, you're applying, I think the mortgage was like $425 or something.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so now you're paying, after you pay the first one off, now you're paying $13,000 on the property, and on property 2.
Yeah.
So instead of that being at 7 months,
You're taking that and rolling it in, and you just round it up for easy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then basically you'll be paying it off maybe 6.5 months or so, and it's a snowball effect to where you can pay all of these homes off in 12 years.
And what we mean by snowball, right, is snowball starts at the top of the hill, it's this small. As it rolls down, it accumulates and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So by the time it gets down to the bottom of the hill, it's as big as it's going to get.
And it takes less time to
Right.
pay off homes.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
so that's how I see you getting to your 42 liquid, paid in full homes.
Right.
If you achieve acquiring them within 8 to 10 years,
Yeah.
and then you apply this rule to expedite, the process.
Okay.
What you thinking about that?
So what gets in the way, right? Because this mathematically we just made sense of it, but then there's the practical application. What stops people from being able to do this?
Not really having a nest egg for their repairs.
Okay.
So that's why I said you should do a flip or two.
Okay.
If you could gain anywhere.
How much do I need in this nest egg?
I would say it depends because each property, some properties you repair, some properties you kind of take as is.
Uh-huh.
It just depends, but I would say save 10%.
Do I need to have a nest egg of 10% for every property or 10% for my overall portfolio?
I would say 10% of not portfolio in the sense of what it's worth, rents collected. So let's
So if
say
I got 42 properties I'm renting at, right? So 10% of this every month I need to put to the side.
yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So I would say if you had 1,200 to the side every month, I mean that's pretty aggressive to say. But 42 properties, you have that.
Right.
To add, you do have vacancy between there,
Right.
and
right.
so
So I had it rented in property 2, and then they left.
Yeah.
So now I'm not getting that cash flow on that.
Right, but don't let that scare you though.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because
It's
if you,
just
have
the reality
42,
doing it.
if you have 42 properties, they're basically paying for themselves.
So at that point, let's talk about that, right? If I lose this renter here, but the other 42, the other of the 42 are still cash flowing me each month, I'm using that to pay the mortgage on that particular property, right?
But the truth is, I would have told you to go up to 50 anyway. Had you told me 42, I would have told you to go to 50. Therefore, that we could build that nest egg within this.
Got you.
Because
So
we would
those
have
other
been
eight-
overshooting your goal
Yeah.
anyway. Therefore, you would always be on pace for your goal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
So I
so
would've told
those
you-
other 8 are allowing me the flexibility to have some
Definitely.
vacancy. Okay,
Definitely,
all right,
definitely.
all right.
And that would in essence be close to like 18%.
I don't do math that fast.
Or
18%.
16%, because basically you have 42 properties.
Yeah.
That's your base, and you got 8. So if you multiply them times 2, that's 16%. So we're looking to cover with 10%. This
Yeah.
more than
It's
more
gonna
than
give you
cover
more.
that.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I got you. Okay, all right. So I think that walks me through pretty good, man. Is there anything I'm forgetting to ask you about that I should be?
Man, where can you learn more? You can learn more. That's an entrepreneur to entrepreneur, baby.
Right. So no, let's talk about that, right, real quick. So I mentioned before, right, like Eric is a real estate professional. This is what he does day in and day out, all day long. I am an aspiring real estate professional, I should say a real estate investor, right? So we spend this kind of time talking through these strategies because he does it, and this is where I learn a lot, man. So First Generation Wealth Builders, the podcast that we're doing, is all about being able to share this game. I'm fortunate enough to have a relationship with him so I can get him on the phone. But how do you, if you don't have these relationships, get access to this type of information? You watch what we're doing on First Generation Wealth Builders, but you also take some of these classes, you get some of this mentorship through the E2E network. So look for more. We're doing lunch breaks. Talk about some of the stuff you got coming up.
So we got the lunch break coming up. The lunch break starts in April. So on Mondays, we'll have deal analysis with Antonio.
Yeah.
On Tuesdays, we'll be doing wholesale tips with myself. We'll have Jared, my lender, on Wednesdays. So he'll be doing lending Wednesdays. On Thursdays, we'll be bringing in special guests. And on Fridays, we'll be having a book club with yourself.
So I get a spot in there too.
But I just feel like that is basically something that people can have access to daily mentorship. Meaning that if you're going through the process of acquiring, but you have questions, we're available for you the next day at noon, 12 Eastern time, every day. If you do miss it though, we'll archive all the videos, therefore you still have access depending on your work schedule and on appointments and things of that nature. But I felt like that was the best way for us to continue to feed and empower people that are looking just to get questions answered and in a source of mentorship.
So I can be a part of this network that meets with you every day, and I can ask you direct questions on my deal right there in real time.
We'll have a subject to cover every time.
Yeah.
But after the subject, we'll definitely open it up for Q&A every day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So y'all heard it here, y'all. That's what First Generation Wealth Builders is all about. It's about bringing resources. It's about bringing tools. It's about bringing tips to you guys in the community. Just in case you don't have access to people like Eric and his relationships, this is the opportunity to start to bridge that gap.
Agreed.
Check us out.
Peace.